Ladies and gentlemen, by way of introduction,
I don't think any words can explain a man's life.
The broadcasting system and its affiliated stations present Columbia Network takes pride in presenting. We take you now to Grover's Mill, New Jersey. Ladies and gentlemen, the director of the Mercury Theater and star of these broadcasts.
It was a voice. Just a voice. I never really saw him. He was only
the hero,
Orson Welles,
a great lover,
Orson Welles,
and a dirty dog.
Orson Welles.
Good morning, this is Orson Welles speaking.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? This is Orson Welles.
This is Orson Welles, ladies and gentlemen.
This is Orson Welles speaking.
I'm a Unicron.
Well, here it is. If anybody wants to see it.
All right, class, come on in, take your seats. Simmer.
Get in here. Come on.
Just move to the front.
You should have already been here. Bell's already rung.
Move to the front. Come on down.
Did you bring enough gum for You did. Oh, well, keep it quiet.
Go ahead and unwrap your candy now so it doesn't disrupt the lecture. Please and thank you.
Is that a Crunch Bar? Gimme. Stephen.
Hope.
I have eaten so many goddamn Fritos since you told me about Orson Welles and Fritos the last time we were recording. And you know what the really sad part is? They're not even Fritos. They're the generic equivalent.
I mean, nothing wrong with that.
I mean, it's good on a burrito bowl, so I got that going for me.
It sure is. It makes for a damn good burrito bowl, in point of fact.
Very much so. Very much so. So what are we doing this week? And why are we doing it? And what are we doing here?
Well, this is Welles U, which is a study of the life and work of Orson Welles in as chronologic an order as we can figure it out. We are your TAs for this session. I am Stephen Foxworthy, and joining me, as always, the incomparable.
I get the as always. Nice. Hi, Hope Lickner, she, her. And I've been programmed in my brain to follow that up with high on cartoons, but
right, we're not doing that here. That's not what this is.
I'm gonna have to shake that. Oh no. Okay, good.
I mean, you're high, but this is not a cartoon. Not yet.
That is irrelevant to the situation at hand. Yes.
Maybe in like 10 years when we finally get to Transformers the movie, we can do a Welles U High on Cartoons crossover. But
Yes, I think that episode was already called Dibs on buybacks. So I mean, we're solid there.
Absolutely. It would kind of have to be. But yeah, so this is our attempt. We are, as we mentioned in our last episode, not scholars by any stretch of the imagination, more enthusiasts of Welles and his work.
Lovers, not experts.
That's it.
And given the size of the font in Frank Brady's Citizen Welles, I expect to be nothing less than an expert at the end of this extremely long run.
And if you would like to see my Welles library, head on over to Instagram.com/WellesUpod. And I will, by this point, have posted a picture of every piece of Welles ephemera and media I own, including the newly purchased for me Citizen Welles. I was at a used bookstore in Andersonville in the great city of Chicago. And I purchased I found and purchased a biography, Citizen Welles by Mr. Frank Brady, the same book that you have. So now we have that one in common.
We do. Yes. I just wanted to, because books and different variations of them always kind of fascinate me. I have a library edition that has the fancy plastic wrap around the hardback and the dust jacket, but more importantly, the front of my book has Orson Welles as seen in F for Fake, which is just he looks dark and mysterious.
He does.
But your paperback,
yes,
I note, has young, sexy Orson Welles.
This is Orson Welles as he appeared in Citizen Kane, his first film, so his first and one of his last there.
Well, as he appeared in about a third of Citizen Kane, but yes.
Sure, yes, point taken. But I mean, this is a well-loved paperback, so I look forward to also loving it as well as its previous owner or owners, because as we've said, we're big Welles fans. And as such, I've been enjoying what I've been able to dig into of Wells so far in this journey, which, compared to what I said was going to happen last week, is not nearly as much.
Oh God, yeah.
We had such lofty ambitions, Hope.
We fumbled at the first yard line. Is that a correct sports metaphor? I don't know, but we definitely fumbled early in the game.
I'm a theater kid, he said, taking a sip out of his cabaret mug.
Shit. They've got me manning the penalty box at Philly Roller Derby on Saturday, and that's going to be fascinating.
Oh,
I'm announcing the second game, so that'll
Okay.
be even more fun.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yes. My derby name is the Millennial Falcon, as bestowed upon me by Mr. Stephen Foxworthy here.
Here. Yes. You're very welcome.
I was so tempted to go with... Fuck it, it's my podcast. I'm just gonna... I can censor it if I want, but like I was so tempted to go with my one friend's suggestion of Cunt-cussion.
That is really good.
It's so good, but kids go to those games.
Yeah,
so,
you don't want that. Yeah.
So Millennial Falcon works. It's really nice rolling up to just a shitload of sapphics on roller skates and getting called Falcon. You just, you just feel important. Highly recommend.
That's amazing. Good for you.
Thank you.
I'm happy I could help you get there, honestly.
Yes, I should send you a thank you card.
I will accept
like
it.
a Chipotle gift card.
Yeah.
So what are we covering today?
So today, if listeners will recall, last week the plan was to cover the first 16 years of the man's life.
We fucked up so bad.
So hard. Just immediately fucked this thing up.
We fucked up so bad.
So bad. God, how did we fuck this up so badly so quickly?
I'm really glad we're recording these before we've put any episodes out, because now we can actually release a properly accurate and updated syllabus for the class.
Yes, absolutely. And we can even put in that syllabus, disregard homework given by Stephen at end of lecture, because that was completely inaccurate. No, this is so we, as I got into reading, particularly Patrick McGilligan's young Orson, which is a very the minutia of his early years is well bespoken in that text. And life finding a way. We're not professional podcasters. We have real lives outside of this thing, as much as we love it. And so I found myself woefully underprepared.
I'm sorry, I just clocked that life finds a way. I have to shout that out real fast, or else Bex is going to get mad at me. Hi, Bex, if you're listening.
Hi, Bex. Love ya.
Life finds a way. No, what am I doing? It's my friend, life finds a way. Why am I doing Goldblum on the fucking Wells podcast? Anyway,
it's okay. You know what? We should always put in as many impressions as we can in any episode.
Yes.
Yeah,
we're going to be spending 8 years with this motherfucker. We might as well have fun with it.
Exactly. Absolutely. So what we are covering today does not even include the man himself. In fact, this is all preamble, but I think it's important preamble because I think this lays the groundwork for who the man would become. And a lot of the patterns, a lot of the traits that we see in his parents, Richard Dick Head Wells and Beatrice Ives Wells.
Oh my God, I'm running like a second or so behind you in terms of like picking up on your jokes. That's going to be fun.
The man's name was Richard Head Wells and he went by Dick. So his name was essentially Dick Head Wells.
Oh my God.
That is not an exaggeration.
That man would not survive 5 minutes around anybody these days. Oh no.
Hope, I have been holding that for 3 weeks.
Oh, God damn it.
I have been sitting on that for 3 weeks.
God damn it. That's incredible.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
As much as I have wanted to tell you that, I knew it would be so much more fun to reveal that live on the record. And I was right. God, that was a blast. I love that for all of us.
Oh my God. Okay, well, before we even really get into the whole meat of everything, the meat of the man, I feel like I want to address the disparity between the homework that we had between the two of us, because I only have the one biography, as I said, Frank Brady's Citizen Wells. My brain wants to follow up the word Frank with Herbert anymore. I can't not do that. And
another person to damn it, Frank, whenever I receive angry texts from you.
Christ. He's back from Savannah, by the way, my dad, and he's just like he's making up for lost time in terms of dickishness, which is, well, at least he's a funny dick. So yeah, got that going for him. But the section we're covering today is covered more or less in the first like 3 or 4 pages of this biography, out of which only 17 covers up to what we were supposed to have covered today. So how many pages did you read?
Well, I will start with
oh, Jesus God.
I will start with Simon Callow's Orson Welles' The Road to Xanadu, of which I read everything up through his time spent in Kenosha, before moving out of Kenosha. So that was about 15 pages, not including the preface, which I also read. Then the bulk of my research, and the reason why I was so far behind, was from Patrick McGilligan's aforementioned Young Orson, wherein I found myself reading 66 pages.
Jesus God.
In order just to get to the man's birth. So, yeah. And now, granted, I had a lot of time, and had I not done anything else, I would have probably been able to read everything I needed to. But the attention to detail would have probably been lost under lots of broad strokes. So
if I'm doing the math correctly, that clocks you at about 81 pages. And the information that I am going to be able to contribute to this episode, I promise I'll have more to say properly next episode. But my total page count to your 81 is 3. So
now, in fairness, the Callow biography does again. I went up through
it's specifically
Kenosha,
Young Orson.
It is, though, and that's why all that detail is important. That's why you need all that preamble, because you're only focusing like this. Young Orson ends at Citizen Kane, which is where most Welles biographies are in such a hurry to get.
I mean, I get why. Yeah, which is like part of why I'm like almost not looking forward to covering Citizen Kane.
We're going to have to spend like 3 months on Citizen Kane alone.
It's going to be that's got to be like the most talked about movie of all time.
It
right?
is.
Like
it's
Jesus
up there.
Christ.
Yeah.
I'm terrified.
At
least I have Grover's Mill. We'll always have Grover's Mill.
We'll always have Grover's Mill. And the realization, Hope, that I made after we finished recording the last episode.
Yes, this is exciting.
Is that the first 16 years of Orson's life all took place in a 2-hour radius of my apartment.
That's actually, there's too many coincidences stacking up here.
Right?
Or is it just Providence? I don't know, but here we are.
We'll let wiser leveler heads tell us what this is. Dumb luck or divine providence, you tell us.
I've always been a fan of dumb luck, personally speaking, but
sure. Whereas I've always leaned a little more toward divine providence. So do with what you will.
Let's see. It's how I got my job. It's how I got most of my partners. It's how I got my cat.
There you go.
A rambunctious asshole.
Yeah, our cats were in fight mode earlier, so hopefully they've chilled out, or we might have another flying cat scenario later.
Yeah, we're gonna have to create like a stinger for cat jump scares. Maybe I'll just cut in that dun dun dun. I don't know. Whatever. I'll figure it out.
The what's that gopher on the bum,
yeah,
bum, bum.
Dramatic gopher.
Dramatic gopher. That's it.
Yes. God, the old internet memes. Memes of yesteryear.
The early days of the interwebs.
I remember Strong Bad's computer breaking live on the day.
Yeah. And every day those damn things came out, we were up and refreshing our Homestar until we saw the new Strong Bad email.
Oh, I
was
had a whole
posted.
routine. We had high-speed internet in the journalism classroom at my high school, so I would just wander into that class. Like I was a copy editor. I would wander into class before homeroom started and just refresh Homestar Runner and see it before everybody else in school. I was the cool kid. Put the word cool in heavy quotes. I'm doing a podcast about Orson Welles.
So you're still the cool kid.
I'm still the cool kid, damn it. Anyway, so 3 pages to 81. We're going to be talking a lot about his early years, but just to like the point of, we got on this text tear the other night, trying to break down this into more reasonable chunks, which is what we ended up doing.
Right.
And you, I believe, said, or somebody said, Orson Begins. Was it me or you?
I think it was you. That was you. And we went on this whole like
Batman tangent. Yeah.
Orson's name in movie titles. Yeah.
But I was going back over my highlighted notes for this episode, for this chapter, and I realized that, first off, any random given line would read like a Tumblr shitpost in modern day. Even just the nonsense about his aunts would make perfect sense. But like other parts that I have highlighted read exactly like a Cliff's Notes version of a Nolan Batman movie.
Right.
Like it's less like, why do we fall, Master Wayne? And more of like, bats. Bats! Bats! You're afraid of bats, Mr. Bat. It's obnoxious. He got his first magic set. He got his first theater set. He hated vegetables. He loved eating. It's like, oh God, it's all here. It's all here. He was fully formed from the word go, apparently.
And that is, I think, the great myth and reality. And again, we have to hold both of those things in constant tension here, because that is Welles as a person. But that is the great myth and reality of Orson Welles, is that like the first clipping of him is as a 10-year-old boy, where he is like promoted as this, this multi-hyphenate at age 10. Like one of his mentors, Dr. Maurice Bernstein, or Bernstein, sorry, said that his first recollection of Orson was him like at 2, speaking in like full complete sentences, and just like able to articulate and pontificate wildly and beautifully. Like this is not your average child. And so yeah, the idea of him being fully formed from birth, from the word go, is sadly, bizarrely, truly accurate.
It's going to be fun separating the man from his own myth in certain places, but at the same time, like I want to believe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's why we're here.
Yeah, exactly. And and I think we talked about this a little bit last week. Like the man is a raconteur. Like he would make up the wildest stories, and a lot of his accounts of his life are called into question and are highly suspect, including some of the shit he says about his own dad. But on the other hand, like it's his reality as he sees it, and we have to hold those things in tension because he is his own myth. It's not that he bought into his own myth, he became his own myth.
Oh yeah.
Which is such an incredible thing to say, but and I think that's what makes him, for me at least, such an indelible if my absolute favorite historical figure of all time is Orson Welles. For that reason.
He's just an absolutely larger than life character. I am fully aware that he was a real ambulatory human being.
Well, for most of his life, ambulatory.
Well, for most, but like he got around, is what I'm saying. Wink, wink. But like, he's a character.
Yeah,
he's like he's a caricature of himself. Even.
Absolutely. Yeah,
and it's truly insane
in a way that people like Adam West and William Shatner would become later. Like he was the protogenesis of all of that.
Can you imagine Orson Welles on social media? Like if we got Orson Welles when people wanted to talk to Orson Welles, or or he was able to rent a camera and buy film. Can you imagine Orson Welles with access to Twitter or Tumblr or Reddit or whatever the fuck. Like it would be like it would be like earth-shattering in terms of like if it would be so crazy. It would be like if the president of the United States wouldn't fucking stop tweeting for the entire 4 years of his presidency and just managed to completely sway empires and blow things up just by saying things online. But like,
that's hard to imagine what that might be like.
I know, right? But stretch that imagination and wrap that concept around a man who just really loved wine and steak instead and magic tricks.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see his YouTube channel. I want to see him performing like dumb little card tricks, just a close up of his hands.
Yeah,
he would do numbers on TikTok even. Like, come the fuck on.
He absolutely would do numbers on TikTok. I mean, so he would be doing like Shakespearean monologues and soliloquies, and would be. I mean, he's a consummate performer. So like, of course he would. Of course he would.
It's such a, he's just looking at me. I made the mistake of laying the biography down beside me on the couch as my cat plays with the paper bag. Stop it. But he's just looking at me. His eyes are following me around, and I feel the pressure. I'm going to lay my Kindle on top of his face. There we go. Right.
Young Orson does not have a book cover, so that's the one currently sitting on top of Citizen Wells.
Fair enough. Okay.
For good reason.
So let's actually dig into why we're here today.
Yes. So
the road to Orson.
The road to Orson. We're off on the road
to Orson. We certainly do get. It's been years since I've seen one of those movies. God damn it! I got to refresh myself. The last one I wrote, the last one I saw only had a lot of blackface. So hooray, hooray!
You gotta love that old school.
Do I gotta?
Entertainment? No, you don't. You really don't.
We're coming up on Christmas. We're gonna watch White Christmas again, and I'm gonna have to sit through the fact that the minstrel show song number is actually kind of a bop, and I hate it. It's just.
But here's the thing, Hope, and I want to make this abundantly clear: you don't have to.
I don't have to sit through it, or I don't have to admit that it's a bop.
No, you don't have to sit through it.
No, I know. That's why I have a Blu-ray search function. So I can just go back and listen and watch The Best Things Happen While You're Dancing again instead. Keep the runtime consistent.
There you go. That's the move right there. Orson Welles, born, let's start in media res with the birth of the man himself. Orson Welles, born into this world in Kenosha, Wisconsin, in the year of our Lord, 1915, on May the 6th. Hope, what was going on in this great wide world of ours in the year of our Lord, 1915?
God, I'd love to tell you once the window loads. So, world events. Hey, a British ocean liner, the Lusitania, sunk by a German submarine. 1,195 perish. Jesus Christ. The second, I'm getting this off of, I should probably say this. Infoplease.com.
Okay.
So that's exciting. Let's see. This was the year an estimated 600,000 to 1 million Armenians were killed in the genocide by Turkish soldiers. A real, we're having a great time here.
Mm-hmm.
The 1 millionth Ford automobile rolls off the assembly line. That's kind of cool. Starting our way down into lead poisoning in the future and destroying the ozone layer on a mass level. And let's see what other good news happened in 1915. The Superior Court in Fulton County, Georgia, accepts the charger for the establishment of the new Ku Klux Klan. That happened on December 4th, 1915, the day after my birthday.
God, I hate it.
Yeah, so do I. And what else happened that year? Well, hey, what happened specifically on May the 6th? Gosh, future Baseball Hall of Fame slugger Babe Ruth hits his first Major League Baseball home run and pitches 12 frames Frames, in the Boston Red Sox 4-3 extra innings lost to the New York Yankees. So that's pretty kick-ass.
I was going to say, at least Orson's birthday, something nice happened.
We got that going for us. And in other news, the World Series was the Boston Red Sox versus the Philadelphia Phillies, and the Phillies lost 4-1. So I don't feel too good about losing to Boston, but
why
there
would
we
you?
go. Yeah, I mean, hey, at least it's not fucking... Christ, I can't even think of anybody else's baseball teams, honest to God. The hatred of the Dallas Cowboys runs deep. And for some bizarre reason, I just invented in my head the Dallas Cowboys were in the World Series in 1915. Don't mind me. I'm high and thinking about Orson Welles. So that's the year that was, 1915.
And so that is
not a terrific time in human history. Very few years are.
I mean, we're coming off the end of a little something called the Great War. Yeah, it just kind of a time of international turmoil, as it were. A lot of shit going down.
Was that the end of World War One? I thought World War One lasted a little longer.
Oh,
that might be public school education coming to haunt me.
I mean, like most private schools, we were much more focused on World War II and the Civil War.
14 to 18. Yeah, the
14 to
Civil
18.
War.
Okay.
Hey,
so we're just kicking it off. Okay.
Hey, I live near Gettysburg. You want to know how serious the Civil War is taken around here? Jesus Christ. It's like 2 hours away, but
hey, you could still road trip to that for a field trip.
Yeah, and you can get a corn dog on the 4th of July while watching Confederates get shot. It's not a bad time to spend an afternoon.
Honestly, sounds pleasant.
Sounds pretty nice. Yeah.
I like corn dogs. I like watching Confederates get shot. This sounds like a good time.
Orson Welles did a whole thing about the Battle Hymn of the Republic. So we're going to have a good time. We've tied it back in. Orson Welles, born May 6, 1915.
To Richard Head Wells and Beatrice Ives Wells. Richard, of course, went by Dick Wells. And Dick Wells was a prominent Kenosha businessman.
I'm not going to be able to take that seriously.
That's
at all.
What the man's name was. Do not read Young Orson because he is referred to as Dick Wells constantly.
Dick Wells? Dick Wells? No, Dick Good. Actually, that's false. Dick Bad. Dick Very Bad. But it was a good joke. That's what matters.
I suppose it really just depends on who you're asking. When it comes right down to it. No, that's right.
Okay, so I'm on page 2. I'm already 2/3 of the way into my part of the research for this episode.
Dick Wells, he was born in the Kenosha area. His family is actually a very prominent Kenosha family. His father was a prominent businessman in the area. So both he and Orson's mother, Beatrice, are fairly well-to-do, come from fairly wealthy families. So Orson is not a middle-class guy.
No.
But both of them are, for the most part, I will say, both of his parents are, for the most part, fairly progressive. Orson...
I feel like we're going to be using the phrase fair for its day a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like progressive considering.
Right.
Yeah.
Considering the fact that they're both Republicans has more to do with the fact that in the late 1800s, early 1900s, that was the Progressive Party. That shift didn't come along until later. That kind of swap.
Times they are a change,
as they are a want to do.
Yes.
But in his childhood, both of Orson's parents were Republicans. And his mother in particular was fairly politically active. She was from a prominent Chicago family, the Ives family. And her in particular, were great supporters of the arts. And because of her status in society, was at various high functions and was a performer herself. She sang, she played piano. In fact, many said that she played piano so incredibly beautifully that she could charm just about anybody. One of her admirers is famed tenor Enrico Caruso.
Oh my God.
whom she met in Chicago and would frequently visit whenever he was in Chicago. He would invite her in to his like parlor along with her husband Dick. Like they would come to see his shows. Like she became very quickly friends and ingratiated within the artistic set. And Wells, for his part, kind of did the same, despite the fact that he was more business minded. He would make frequent trips down to Chicago from Kenosha, which is again like 90 minutes by car, probably a little longer by rail. But he would make frequent trips down to Chicago, very much enjoyed the nightlife. Simon Callow intimates that he was a patron of a rather prominent Chicago brothel in his youth.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That I started like Googling and realized because he actually prints the address in Road to Xanadu, and I was like, where is this? Is this still standing? I don't believe it is. I do not believe that brothel is still standing. Otherwise, I would go in search of the brothel. I am planning a series of Wells-related road trips at some point during this podcast.
Oh, we have talked extensively about this, and yes, yeah. I am going to be doing, because I am also relatively close to New York City. I'm going to be making several trips up there for the sake of this. Mm-hmm. And Bex, if you're listening, I promise not to make you do all of the walking. It would be an insane thing to just say, yeah, we're going to go on a road trip to Orson Welles' dad's favorite brothel.
Right.
That's too many qualifiers in a sentence. You know what I mean? If it was Orson's favorite brothel, I get it. Sure. But his dad, now we're just getting tangential.
Right. But I mean, it's history, man. It's part of the history.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Think of all the famous rich people that fucked here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Al Capone once like laid pipe in this very building, man.
Now wash your hands.
In fact, I
sing the happy birthday song twice.
I packed a jumbo bottle of Purell just for the occasion.
I'm going to bathe in bleach tonight.
And that's not counting the extra bottle I bought just for my eyes.
Christ alive.
So again, very prominent figures in society, and no one is
brothels.
And in brothels. No one is entirely sure where they met, or how they met.
Oh Christ!
But they did have a lot of mutual friends. Among them, John McCutcheon, who is a famed cartoonist, George Addy, who would become like one of the prominent novelists and is said to be one of Orson Welles' namesakes. So, I mean, there are, and again, the stories are endless, right? So,
yeah. Oh, yeah. The man's life is anecdotal. So,
that's again, one of the coolest things about it. His dad is an inventor who was very big into like Dick Wells is an inventor. He was really into bicycling, like before the bicycling craze, like really kicked in.
Hell yeah. I did 16 miles on the Delaware last weekend. It kicked ass.
There you go. And did you have a little headlight on the front of your bike that you used?
I did not. No.
Well, if you did, you know who you have to.
I know, yeah.
You know who you have to thank for that.
Well,
Dick Wells.
Now I have to go buy a bicycle light and name it like the Dick Wells Memorial Bicycle Light.
So
I'm gonna get a little bell and call it Trixie.
So he didn't so much invent it as he perfected a design that another guy came up with, and does hold the patent.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Right. Again,
yeah.
I noticed a lot of parallels as I was reading. Like he gets a lot from his mom, he gets a lot from his dad.
Oh boy.
Like he gets his mom's like political activism and artistic temperament. He gets his dad's like entrepreneurial spirit and like, I think we can tweak some stuff here and kind of make this its own thing. Like all of that comes from his dad. Like it's kind of insane to see like the stuff he manages to like get from both of them, from each of them. But he eventually parlays that as cars become more and more popular. He actually is said to have driven the first car ever on the streets of Kenosha. Drives the first automobile ever to run down the streets of Kenosha. So if you're driving in Kenosha, thank Dick Wells. And he basically, again,
Thanks,
not so much the idea for the automobile headlight, but perfected. He designed a way to move the apparatus throughout the car, realizing that the source of the fuel for the gas light didn't have to be right next to the gas light. And so he like pioneers this idea, and it becomes the industry standard. So he and a couple of other prominent Kenosha businessmen start Badger Brass, which is this, becomes at some point in these years before Orson, the most prominent business, like headlight business in the country at one point. Like they're the progenitors of like the automobile and bicycle lamps.
That's dope as hell.
Yeah. And he's on the board, but he is management. So when those labor unions start creeping up in places, he, for all his progressive politics, is not on the side of the unions.
God damn it, Dick.
Yeah.
God damn it, Dick.
Damn it, Dick. So yeah, that is again kind of a sore spot, kind of a dark spot there in the story. In fact, there's a story that is told where he is among a mob of people who's kind of like putting the screws to one of the prominent union agitators in Kenosha around the time. The first time there is a strike, it is over fairly quickly. The management gives in to the demands. Not all the demands, but enough to get people to come back to work. The second time they just say, fuck it, if you're striking, you're fired, and we'll just move the entire operation to New York, which they do briefly.
Holy Christ.
Until the strike's over, and then they move it all back to Kenosha and don't rehire anybody.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah. And again, management keeps getting richer. Badger Brass keeps doing better. In a lot of other ways, like I said,
really fucking hate the cycle of history we're in right now. God
right?
damn it.
Oh, the more things change, Hope, the more they change.
Oh, Christ. The Gilded Age. It's back.
One fun thing I did find out, actually, is that Cat just creating havoc in the kitchen.
All right. Cat jump scare 3620. Got it.
You're just like knocking cabinets over, trying to get into the contents. Another interesting thing is that Dick Wells actually went to boarding school with the father of another actor who would also perform in Mercury Theater, and who a lot of people may have known. It's the father of someone named, let me just check my notes here, Vincent Price.
Oh, I know that guy.
Right? So apparently they went to, they were like schoolboy chums, went to school together, and like actually performed, did performing arts together. Like they did theater together. So like, again, Orson is not the first Wells to perform either. Like it is happening again, as the giant said.
Oh Christ. This doing this podcast long form is going to give me Lost style flashbacks.
Yes.
Oh dear.
Yes.
Oh dear.
It absolutely will.
Oh dear.
And I can't wait for it, honestly.
This will be a good death.
Honorable.
Christ alive. Okay, so Dick, Union Buster, hate the guy. Great.
Right.
Good.
But by the same token, also one of 30 prominent Kenosha men who are willing to sign a petition that shows up on the front page of the Kenosha newspaper in support of women's suffrage.
Oh. That's, God damn it. All right. Fine.
So, and for her part, they marry in 1905. No one's really sure how or why they meet up with each other.
That's always the fun part. How did you meet? And the couple awkwardly looks at each other and says something like, through friends, and it's like online. Just say an app. Just say you met on an app, and for
Right.
like nobody knows how they met. Just a brothel. Just say it was a fucking brothel.
And I don't know that it was necessarily because
I know. I'm
Beatrice,
putting that
not
on them,
the
and
kind
that's
of
unfair.
person, not the kind of person who would probably do that. But again, it probably would have been through friends. It probably would have been through someone like John.
No,
McClane
yeah.
or that.
The most I got out of this biography in terms of on his parents was they got around socially. They knew
Oh my word, yes.
everybody.
Frequent trips to the Caribbean, like almost annual trips to the West Indies, and they would hang out with their famous friends down there. Like
Christ.
anytime there's a prominent musician performing in Chicago, very often they would be squirreled up to Kenosha for a brief visit where they would be hosted by Beatrice Wells.
They feel entirely like characters that would wind up as suspects on the Orient Express. You know
Yes,
what I mean?
very much
Just these obscenely wealthy socialites that don't actually invent anything themselves, but get like in on the ground floor enough
Mhm.
on the invention of a thing to ride the coattails, sort of thing. Just Christ alive.
And I mean, was it George or Dick rather does go on to bring jitney buses to Kenosha as well. So he's like prominent in like public transit, like buses as public transit.
Deranged.
People at the time were not really happy with them because they were interfering with the electric rail system that Kenosha had at the time.
Oh, come on.
So
Trains, man. Trains forever. God damn it.
Yeah, I mean, chances are we'll probably likely be taking a train out to see you guys next year. So
Fair enough. All right.
So
At least Chicago has a nice transit system.
very much so, yes.
Philadelphia's all right. Philadelphia's pretty good.
Yeah, we got one of the better ones for sure over here.
We're lucky because we're kind of sandwiched right between New York and DC.
Yeah.
So we kind of leech off of the legendary horrors of the Eldritch abomination that is the New York public transit system, and also the eerily clean Metro DC system. You know the internet meme of the back rooms?
Mm-hmm.
That's the DC Metro.
Oh.
Yeah, no, with like brutalist architecture. It's kind of incredible. So god damn. So Dick, bike lamps, and Christ alive, where even are we in the timeline? They got married in 1905.
I'm jumping all over the fucking place is what
Fair.
I'm doing. Like, I'm kind of all over the place. I'm not really keeping a tight chronology on all of this. Like, if
That's
I were...
the whole point of the podcast, Stephen.
Fuck, I said as much as we were capable.
You're supposed to be on you're supposed to be the goddamn spreadsheet master of this shit.
Look, I have spreadsheets, but my research was so chaotic this week, I didn't write anything down, so I am speaking completely extemporaneously.
Great. See,
and I've had a hot
supposed
toddy, so...
Ah, god damn it. I should have done another bong rip before we hit record. Oh, well.
We can take a pause for the cause. You can edit it out.
Stay even. Give me another 5 minutes. I want to actually, like... Okay, so... Beatrice was known in the concert world as Trixie Ives. I'd love to know where she got that stage name. I don't suppose you have any idea in your many biographies.
My guess is it's a shortened form of the latter half of Beatrice. Triss.
You know what?
Trixie.
I realized that as soon as you started saying that sentence, and I'm mad that it took me until then to figure it out. So good. If I can't maintain a reputation as the freewheeling, lovable stoner of the podcast, I can at least be the dumb one. Yeah,
no, absolutely not.
It's just self-depreciation.
You're the one who knew when World War I ended, so
yeah, American public school system working for me. Woo!
Yeah.
The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
Oh, is that what that does?
It's yeah. I thought it was a Pep Boys. Anyway, so he's the business side of things, and she is the arts side of things.
Correct. So she's
pretty even split.
It is, and I mean, she's a very, like, by all accounts, an insanely talented musician, but also a very talented performer. She kind of immediately, upon moving from Chicago to Kenosha, upon her wedding to Dick, and they take like a 6-month honeymoon to like the West Indies.
That tracks. Yeah, and then they helped Hercule Poirot solve a mystery in the pyramids. Of course they did.
Of course. Of fucking course
They did.
Um, but like when she comes back, immediately like ingratiates herself to the society women, becomes kind of a prominent member of the Kenosha Women's Club, which is like the highest social club for women in Kenosha, as one might assume based on the name. She is kind of an immediate superstar within that world, hosting like fundraisers and constantly performing. Like every time there's a women's club function, she's either playing piano or she is singing, performing. At one point, she organizes a play of the women and plays, of course, the lead for herself.
Of course.
By all accounts, very goofy, very funny. Incredibly charming. Wells refers to her as the most beautiful woman in the world, which if you've seen a picture of Beatrice, she's all right. Like
damned with faint praise.
She's a very handsome woman, let's say that.
Shit. Okay. Well, now I don't think I looked her up myself. Beatrice. If I can spell Beatrice correct. Wells. Images. I don't think that's the Beatrice Wells we're talking about. No, that I believe looks to be a different person entirely. Good.
Try
Okay.
Beatrice Ives Wells.
Ives Wells. That's a great. Search it. Narrow the search down.
Because Beatrice Wells is also the name of Orson's daughter.
Yep, that makes sense. Okay. She's not. No, she's good looking. It's the hair. I don't think that style of hair is doing her any favors.
Not at all.
If I can be completely honest.
No.
Also, the high collar really draws how she's got a really good jawline, though.
Yeah, very, very nice jawline.
I don't think that collar is doing her any favors either. All right.
Assuredly not.
Good. This has been Awkward Fashion Advice with a bitch who's just learning how to dress herself properly.
Look, you got catching up to do, and that's okay.
I'm criticizing a woman's style from 120 years ago.
You are. That is the thing you're doing.
Always a safe path.
What I could have done is just done that. I could have done that for you.
You could have, because I've got my wireless mouse right next to me, even though my laptop's. Oh, that's a good photo. I like that.
Yeah, that's the photo of Orson and his mom, taken from, let me just check the website here, Wikipedia.
No, that website.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay, good.
But
we should keep an eye on them. They're going places.
Yeah, absolutely, we should. But again, very like super charming. Like the two of them together, very much in love. Like just but the Kenosha's power couple for all intents and purposes.
The power couple of a town you've never heard of.
Well, and I mean, Kenosha at the time is kind of considered little Chicago in a sense. Like it's kind of this smaller city to the north, but is paralleling the city and growth of Chicago in a lot of very interesting ways. And it's close enough that the commute is not difficult, not super unheard of, right? So they would, absolutely, and Orson idolized his mother. She was the one that taught him art and music and basically made him the multi-hyphenate that he would eventually become.
Oh my God, yes. It's just even reading the first few pages of this biography. It's very much that Lincoln quote. It's everything I am or ever hope to be, I owe to my mother.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. And it just feels like Thomas Wayne leaning in and being like, have you thought about bats, Bruce? it really feels like I don't think Nolan could have written anything so on the goddamned nose.
No.
God damn.
And I mean, these are themes like the relationship between child and parent, particularly mother, that would become recurrent within Wells's work, and we will see them frequently, particularly in his early work. I'm thinking particularly of Citizen Kane and Magnificent Ambersons off the top of my head, wherein the mother-son relationship is in a lot of ways very crucial. And yes, it's almost an afterthought in Kane, but it is central to the entire story, I would argue.
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
So like there, it's
small role, large impact.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and
I've not seen Ambersons, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, Ambersons is good, my friend, and would have been better if
I know. See, that's why I've not seen it yet,
Yeah,
because I want guidance properly on which fucking version am I watching. So
I mean, there's only the one because RKO fucking demolished that footage, but
that's fair.
That's another discussion that we'll have like a year from now.
I bought it once, and I still own 5 copies of Blade Runner, thanks to the horse shit that's been put through. So, no. I can get into my anger about that on a later date, like when we talk about the Magnificent Ambersons.
Yeah,
studio interference.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I can shake my fist at George Lucas some more, but that's a different thing.
That's again a still more different thing.
It's a different. But hey, speaking of George Orson Welles.
There we go, bringing it back.
Hasn't been born yet. Won't be born until the end of this podcast.
Correct.
Well, the end of this episode.
Right.
And we're going to spend 8 years leading to the birth of.
Another area where Orson's mother was particularly prominent was within the Unitarian Church in Kenosha. She was conducted the church choir there, and was particularly fond of the minister there, Florence Beck, who was a very prominent political figure in the Kenosha area, very progressive in terms of her politics, and had a longtime partner in ministry and in life who was also female. And so we see very early in even before he's born, Orson has that queer connection we were talking about last week when we said, oh, too bad it can't be gay. It's going to get gay. Sometimes it's going to get gay. This isn't even the only gay couple in this episode.
As soon as you said Unitarian, like my brain lit up, and now I have to text Bex. Because they are also very active in their Unitarian church.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah.
But Florence Beck was the minister there for years and years until her partner got sick and they had to move out to California. Beck would return very often to preach and to kind of like stop in, visit, deliver speeches and other, particularly as the suffragist movement gained steam in Kenosha. She would return a lot more frequently, but never stayed. Eventually, the Unitarian, she was replaced by another Unitarian minister who was brought in, and then it turned out he was a bigamist.
Jesus Christ.
And had to resign in disgrace. Bigamy, of course.
Turns out. Whoops.
Bigamy, turns out, along with all other forms of polygamy, was outlawed in the United States in 1882.
Yeah, Christ.
So years before this. So he was forced to resign in disgrace. He had also forged his ministerial credentials.
It gets worse.
Right?
Yay! Christ alive.
So fun. And the Unitarian Church kind of never recovers. Like the ministry of that church kind of falls apart. Beatrice basically becomes disillusioned with religion after that point.
That's a shame.
And kind of pours herself more wholeheartedly into her political activism. There's also a rift that forms within the Women's Club when she runs for president of the Women's Club against a very prominent figure, and basically runs her for every office, has her own younger candidate. And they lose out by the narrowest of margins and are pretty much shunned after that.
Jesus Christ.
And so she then kind of ostracized from the church, ostracized from her social club, pours herself into activism and becomes one of 3 prominent leaders in the Kenosha suffragist movement. At that point, women do have limited voting rights. Basically, they can vote for anything involving schools because that is the purview of mothers and children, I guess, is the logic there. But that's not really
Can't fault the logic.
1912, the first suffragist, the first suffrage memorandum is put on the ballot it fails spectacularly. So they put another one on in 1914. And Wells herself in that year runs for school board because she is, again, very politically active. None of the they realize, look, if we want to gain any traction in the suffragist movement, we have to have a woman elected to public office. It just has to happen. And so none of them want to step up. And basically the other two leaders come to Beatrice and they're like, look, B, will you do this for us?
Sup, B?
Her first son, Richard Wells, Orson's older brother, had been called Dickie. He went by Dickie Wells.
Unfortunate.
Right? He had learning difficulties. He stuttered. Like he had some difficulty. And so like that was their way of kind of convincing her to run for school board. Cause they're like, look, Dickie needs the attention, he's not getting it. He's not getting the schooling and education that he needs. And so that's pretty much like, yes, okay, I'll do it. And so,
oh God,
yeah,
it's a fun example of a white woman using political power to help gain a education edge for her children. Yeah, I get that he needed it, but Jesus Christ,
tale as old as time. Well, I mean, and again, we're talking 1914 Kenosha, but yeah, the optics now not so good.
Yeah,
agreed. So,
oh shit, Steven, I just realized Orson Welles is problematic. Shut it down.
Oh fuck!
Shut it down.
Not
Shut
again.
it all down. Ah, fuck. It's been 0 days since Orson Welles was problematic.
Another milkshake duck for the masses.
I'm gonna spend. It's a fellow, right? Yeah, I'm gonna spend that episode just kind of deflating the entire time, just like Orson Welles played.
I mean, fortunately, it's in black and white, but it's kind of
that makes it better.
That blackface is hard to ignore, even in black and white.
Yeah, it's in blackface and white. Ooh, I got into Muppet laugh. Hell yeah!
Oh,
all right, good.
I was not expecting that. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Delightful. Well
good.
Done. Well
done.
So
these rich assholes running for school board.
Yes. And she wins. She becomes the first woman ever elected to public office in the city of Kenosha.
Nice.
Like an historical event. That Christmas, she basically starts a community Christmas fund where people can basically buy into this fund for as low as a penny, as much as $1. And that fund ensures that every child in Kenosha, indiscriminate of class or station or parentage or anything, receives a gift on Christmas.
Aww.
And on Christmas Eve, they have this massive event, and like they have like someone dressed as Santa Claus to come and like pass out all the presents to all the kids. And she herself like speaks publicly about the spirit of giving and draws a connection between the literal figure of Saint Nicholas or of Santa Claus and the spirit of Santa Claus in the heart of every giver. Like it's this very moving and impassioned speech that she gives. And then when she goes home,
sounds just like a Hallmark movie,
right? Her and her husband and her son each open a gift. And Beatrice at that point informs her husband, Dick Wells, that she is pregnant with child number 2.
I wonder which one that's going to be.
That's going to be Orson.
It is?
It is. That's our guy.
Spoilers.
Fuck. That's our guy. That's Orson.
Okay.
And so
he is George. Oh, George Orson. Okay.
George calling Orson. So immediately after Christmas, they go on another West Indies vacation. They leave
God
Dickie,
damn it.
They leave Dickie with Beatrice's mother, who at this point is living with them since the death of her husband.
God damn it. Why are you just leaving Dickie out of this?
I mean,
poor Dickie.
Poor Dickie is going to be...
His name's Dickie. Take that.
First of all, he was named Dickie.
Yeah.
Let's
add insult to injury.
Let's reckon with that for a second.
Is he the Fred Claus of our podcast?
Maybe. Maybe.
Good.
He may very well be. I don't know much about Dickie Wells, so I
don't know much about Fred Claus, so we're even.
I don't want to make too many jokes about the man.
I feel bad for this poor son of a bitch. Yeah,
I kind of. He's kind of this like disappointing eldest son, but the kid actually does have like some learning difficulties. He's a stutterer. Like the kid has problems essentially, and he is.
I mean, we could absolutely do several hours on like. Orson was obviously this prodigy from the word fucking get-go, but
right.
Dickie had learning disabilities, therefore the one-size-fits-some style of American education system did not fit him at all.
Correct.
And did not bend to help him in any way, shape, or form. And his parents seemingly did less to help the poor bastard. So,
I mean, Beatrice did what she could, which is unfortunately not much.
Yeah.
I mean, she did become school board. She did get elected to the school board in Kenosha.
Pretty good.
That is pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
More than a lot of other mothers were doing for their children, particularly in Kenosha.
Yeah. Every mother should get elected to school board for their kid that has dyslexia. Jesus Christ.
And I mean, the options for someone who didn't fit into that system.
I would have so many friends with mothers on school boards if that were the case.
You and me both, man.
Jesus Christ.
I had one of my very good friends did not find out until he was a grown adult that he was dyslexic.
Ugh.
And when he told his parents, they were like, yeah, we always kind of figured.
The fuck? See, I can't begin to fathom that because I was an avid reader from the word go. Because, hey, as it turns out, the kid with undiagnosed PTSD really liked escapism, and nobody bothered that kid when they were reading books.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, they would bother that kid when the kid was watching TV because it was TV and that'll rot your brain. But books are no problem. Could you lay off the Terry Pratchett for 5 minutes? That wouldn't come until later, but yes. I read so many Star Wars novelizations.
Oh, girl, you and me both.
Holy shit. I'm also realizing, am I like misgendering myself in any of these sentences? I tend to think of myself in terms of a weird time travel situation. So it's a before and after sort of thing.
If anyone's going to do it, it should be you.
That's right. So, word of warning, if you're referring to me in the present tense, she, her. If you're referring to me in the past tense, don't refer to me.
There you go. That's a good rule.
Yes. I will refer to myself in the past tense. It's not for you. It's for me.
There you go. That's it.
So, yeah.
To circle back to Dickie just briefly, and maybe perhaps by way of spoiler, the options for someone who did not fit into that very rigid system were significantly more limited in the early 1900s or the late 1910s than they would be today.
No.
Right.
Really?
No. So they travel to...
The KKK was just formally recognized by a city government, and you're telling me that there's not as many options for kids with learning disabilities? What?
Oh, God. Oh,
Shock.
Everything's terrible. Burn it down.
Start from scratch.
Let's just do the Etch-a-Sketch end of the world.
Hold it upside down and shake it.
Clean slate. So Orson's parents, upon finding out that Beatrice is pregnant, go to the West Indies, as they often would. And there they spend time with their friends, John McCutcheon. Also there is George Addy and his longtime homosexual partner, Orson C. Welles. Wells spelled W-E-L-L-S. Orson C. Welles was a prominent New York millionaire, but the two were basically longtime homosexual partners. The child is named George Orson Welles, and two of their best homosexual friends are named George and Orson. You do the fucking math. While they're there...
I do so love the phrase confirmed bachelor. It's one of my favorites. Yeah.
A couple
was he,
Orson
Welles? I limped my wrist for
She
for
did.
the audio medium of the
Right.
podcast for that joke. Uh,
The they told basically George and Orson, if the child is a boy, we'll name him after the two of you. Although, if we do go back into the Wells family history, one of Orson's great grandfathers was a Kenosha attorney, Orson S. Head, and his brother was named George Head. So they could have also been a family name. But that's a great way to pay honor to your friends and also your family at the same time.
and our family in quotes. You're naming them after your gay buddies. And also when you go to family reunions, it's like, oh yeah, named after great aunt what's her fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a quote that I highlighted that I'm quite fond of. Not the one about the ant that practiced witchcraft. Where is the quote? Here we go. Hell, we had to call you Orson, he told his son, who inquired one day about what his name really was. Every damned Pullman porter in the county is named George. Which, yeah, good. Thanks, Dick.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, that is more or less the lead up to Orson Welles. Like I think we start to see some of his, the one figure we didn't mention, and he is barely mentioned we mentioned him, but didn't really dig into it. The one figure we didn't mention, and because he hasn't really played that prominent a role yet in the story, is Maurice Bernstein, who is basically the orthopedist in Kenosha. He moves to Kenosha from Chicago. 2 months later, moves back to Chicago to take a fairly prominent position at a medical school there. Ends up getting into a fist fight with the head of the school, and basically is forced to go back to Kenosha, and slowly begins building a practice in Kenosha, and essentially becomes kind of the Wells children's doctor, and would become kind of a second father to Orson, as he would eventually kind of grow up. In fact, he would end up lending his last name to one of the characters in Citizen Kane, Mr. Bernstein.
There we go.
So such an important figure was he in the life of young Wells. And we'll get into him more, I'm sure, in the next week or two as we get into the life of young Orson.
Yes, when we finally meet the man himself.
Right.
Episode 3
of
the podcast.
Right. But yeah, that is essentially the lead up to Orson. Took us about an hour. Not too shabby.
Not bad at all.
Not bad. I mean, we probably could have gone longer. There were some tangents in there too, so we kind of kept it light, kept it loose.
Yeah. Hey, what if we did a movie podcast as two friends? But here's the catch. We kind of joke around about it. Yeah, nobody's ever done that before.
No one. I mean, we are both white, but we're not both dudes, so at least we got that going for us.
God, yeah, hell yeah! I knew
that's our competitive advantage.
I knew I made the right call. Growing these D cups, hell yeah,
dudes.
Hell yeah! All right, we might sound like it because I'm fundamentally lazy as a person, but.
Well, and also you don't want to do too much vocal training because then you'll lose your Orson Welles.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And I should ask you, Stephen, what are we pondering for next episode?
So next episode, the plan is to cover Orson basically right up until he leaves for boarding school. So that would be from his birth right up until he leaves for the Todd School at I want to say around about age
12. Am I remembering
12
correctly?
I think you're right.
12?
Yeah,
12 to 16 if I'm remembering.
11 or 12. Yeah,
if I'm remembering the final 3 pages of the 17 that I read today. Yes. Good. I'm so glad I've already done my homework for that episode. That's pretty great.
I've still got plenty more.
Great. I'm horrified to see. I'm just going to keep a page count. as to what our verses is at.
And I'm gonna reread some sections of Road to Xanadu because I read those thinking we were going to be covering them, and I'll read the corresponding chapters in Young Orson, and then the corresponding chapters in Young Orson would have been like 180 pages.
I would like to say that Stephen is doing this voluntarily, and I am definitely not holding him to do this against his will.
Nope. No, I was excited to do you. You said this to me in a high drunken stupor, and I said, "Fuck yes, let's do it." And I was relatively sober at the time, so
we'll bust out the why can I never remember the name of that shit from Chicago or lot?
Malort.
Why am I always putting the wrong vowel sound on it? Anyway, whatever. You bring the Malort, I'll bring the cheesesteaks. No, pretzels. Yes. Wait, no,
I was going to say,
pretzels.
You bring the cheesesteaks, I'll bring the Italian beef.
We will have fights as to how the food works. Good.
I'll bring Malort too, though, and old style. We'll do a Chicago handshake.
Kick ass. It'll be a good time. All right. So we've got our assignments for next class. Do we have anything else before we wrap it up?
I do not have anything else. Hope, do you have anything else?
No. I am overwhelmed by the ironic fact that I made a joke at the end of last episode, and it's come true for the end of this episode. Because what are we cheap, right? What are we going to do tonight?
So earlier in this episode, I just want to point this out. Earlier in this episode, you did a Michael Caine impression, and it sounded so close to Pinky that you could do that as a conversation between Michael Caine and Orson Welles, and it would still fucking work.
Shit. Oh, no. Okay, I'll have to workshop that because now you're throwing new concepts at me. That
I know, I'm sorry.
I've been talking to myself as H.R. Giger, hi, all day at work. So, of course, I did my vocal warm-ups for an Orson Welles podcast as H.R. Giger, hi. The H.R. stands for, hey, really Giger. Stole that from the Super Ego podcast. It's not mine, but it delights me to no end. But, as always... I have no as always.
We don't. I don't.
We don't have a solid sign off yet. Okay.
Not yet. We're going to workshop it. But before we do, I do want to say a shout out to Tucker for writing our closing theme song, which you will hear momentarily. We didn't know he was going to write it last week, which is why we didn't mention it last week. But we're mentioning it now.
Okay.
Because we're locking him in. So
good. You're not contractually obligated. Well done, sirs, for contributing to the arts.
Huzzah.
We thank you.
So until we come up with a decent sign off, I am your TA, Stephen Foxworthy. You can find the Wells U podcast on some forms of social media, but not all, at Wells U Pod. Find me, Stephen Foxworthy, on some forms of social media, but not all, at Chewy Walrus. And Hope, can we find you on some forms of social media, but not all?
You can, and I'm just going to highlight my AO3, which I've not published anything on just yet, but I'm laying the groundwork. I'm just at Hope Lichtner on several platforms, including Tumblr, if you want some good lesbian content.
And who doesn't? Let's be honest.
To be fair, it's a lot of hand-holding and not much more than that. So,
okay.
Yes.
That's fair.
Yes,
look.
They're in love. Look, I have read. You read 82 pages of Orson Welles. I have read this calendar year easily over 20,000 pages of sapphic slow burn.
I am so glad you have a hobby.
I'm glad I have my hobby back. It left me for a little while. And speaking of hobbies, episode 3 coming soon. And until next time, keep it magic.
Right on.